Black Power, Black Beauty, Black by popular demand. This is Black's History Month, a 28-day celebration of Black exploitation films. I'm sure most of us are at least somewhat familiar with the Brown versus Board of Education decision and school desegregation back in the 50s and 60s. But if you aren't, the short version is that segregated schools were essentially made illegal, and black students were given the opportunity to go to predominantly white schools that had better facilities, better books, and conditions. But this isn't a history channel, so I'm not going to get into all the details and ramifications of this. But the movie Halls of Anger touches on something that's rarely, if ever, brought up about this time period. And that is, what about all the white students that had to be integrated into black schools? See, when integration happened, all the mostly white schools didn't just lay down and accept it. And one of the many ways to keep a de facto segregation going was to rework the city and county school district lines so that the black neighborhoods would end up in certain school districts that were far away from the other districts that served mostly white neighborhoods. But what happens if you're a white family that can't necessarily afford to live in one of the white school districts? Then you end up in the same situation as the white students in Halls of Anger, who were forced to try to integrate with black students who weren't exactly doing cartwheels about it, because they saw how it played out on the opposite side. So it's the usual integration movie, but in reverse. Halls of Anger stars black movie veteran Calvin Lockhart as Quincy Davis, a well-respected teacher and former basketball legend who's tasked with overseeing the transition of the white students. So kind of like a Joe Clark, except he's not a principal, and he's not crazy, and is only responsible for one class, it seems. So not really like Joe Clark at all, actually. It makes me wonder, what exactly was he supposed to accomplish when he only teaches one class and is only responsible for 7 out of the supposedly 60 white kids at the school? The lack of clarity is probably why Halls of Anger fumbles the plot so badly. It starts out promising enough. The white kids show up to the school and have to walk a hell of a gauntlet. They don't get assaulted or anything, well, at least not physically, but the verbal jabs really aren't that bad.
Ooh, vanilla ice cream. And I'm gonna take me a big lick.
Yes, sir, white folks. This is the plantation show enough, but Miss Scarlett, she ain't up yet.
Black students definitely experienced way worse on day one. So what don't I like about it? Well, for one thing, the movie almost completely abandons its interesting premise. I wanted to dive deeper into the situation that the white students found themselves in. We only get one short scene with them discussing how they feel about it, with most of them lamenting the fact that their parents didn't have the pull or resources to get them transferred. Then after only a few scenes of them getting bullied and harassed, the movie makes a weird shift when it's discovered that nearly all the black students in the class can't read.
Various points of the compass.
But the white students, aside from one of them, can read like the Micro Machines guy.
Bearing the traces not merely of outward storm and sunshine, but expressive also of the long lapse of mortal life and accompanying vicissitudes that have passed within. Were these to be
I thought this would be a catalyst for the black and white students to find some common ground and to bond over this. In the meantime, learning more about each other's unique upbringings and situations. But no, the movie then becomes about Quincy being a savior to these poor, unfortunate, stupid black students. Come on, man, even by the 70s, we had already seen this a million times. The inner city kids who don't want to learn, who end up getting saved by the teacher who refuses to give up on them. I guess I should be happy that at least it's not a white savior, but I can be upset at how it ruins the motivations of the black students. Instead of them being upset at how black people are treated in the same situation across the country, they come across like they're the aggressors for absolutely no reason at all. And if only they knew how to read and were as smart as the white students, maybe they wouldn't be so angry and would understand. But the movie never stops to ask, why do they not know how to read? And why are they so angry and violent? The movie has no interest in answering those questions. There's a few glimmers of what could have been in 2 different scenes. One where a white student who's been struggling with reading asks a black student with some help with his classwork. And also when it's revealed that a black student may actually be in a relationship with one of the white girls, much to the anger of some of the black girls.
Yeah, go ahead, run on! Take your little Miss Clara with you.
But the movie never really goes anywhere with it. The conflict is instead mostly between Quincy and the ringleader of the black students, JT. JT feels like they send, quote, black Toms down to their school to keep them in line, and he resents how much Quincy is respected by the other students. The only way to settle this? On the basketball court, of course. The crazy thing about it, the story of Quincy and the black students isn't that bad. It's just not the movie that we as the audience came to see. There may be a reason why things ended up the way they did. The production of the movie went about as bad as production can go, with most everybody involved not getting along with each other. For one thing, the black actors were paid far less than the white actors, even the extras, despite having about equal amounts of experience. Then, Calvin Lockhart clashed with the director Paul Bogart on the direction of the script and the treatment of the cast. Then, the cast was segregated during production, which is quite ironic considering the film they were making. Then, to make everything worse, the director was less accepting of changes that the black cast wanted to make to the story. And it shows. You come away from the movie thinking less of the black students, and nothing is truly learned in the end. If there's anything notable about Halls of Anger, it's that it's the first movie for both Jeff Bridges and James A. Watson. Other than that, it fails to understand the assignment.